so many societal expectations are what stop us from deciding that we can do something different, deciding that we can go off the script that has been handed to us. You don't have to hate your body. You don't have to go to school and get a degree. You don't have to get married and have kids. Like, holy shit, even what you really deeply want is allowed to change over time, because you are allowed to change over time. Hey, sunshine. I am recording today because several reasons. So, number one is I am coming out of like a 3-week long depression, and I am not a person who typically has depression. I used to be depressed, and then I went on antidepressants, and 3 months to the day after I started the antidepressants, I left my husband because I realized that I was not having depression fog. I was having being gaslit every day and mentally abused fog. So I was like, oh, this actually sucks. I'm going to leave. And I was seeing a psychiatrist, and my anxiety scores and depression scores were both improving like quarter after quarter. Eventually I went off those meds, then I went back on those meds, and now I'm on a different med. And like, so moral of that story is please advocate for your mental health needs and try medication, because it could really help. Not for everybody, and you might need to try a few different meds. We're having like a little PSA about meds at the beginning of this episode. All that to say, talk to your doctor if you're going through some mental health issues. And I am now feeling more myself. And that's been a big part of it, is that I didn't feel like myself. I have not been doing some of the self-care practices that I know are really good for me, like doing my morning pages, journaling. I actually recently just journaled at the new moon. I keep a journal like specifically where I will journal at the new moon and the full moon and talk about like what I want to manifest and what I want to focus on. And like, I'm not as knowledgeable in the astrological cosmos world as some of my friends, but I, follow a few accounts. And so I get some major themes, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to journal about these themes for this moon. And as I was going through the notebook, it's been like 11 months since I last did my moon journal. So I have been feeling like untethered spiritually, because that new moon, full moon was like just one way that I kept a consistent cadence with that part of like my spiritual practice and my self-care practices. I've been doing my morning pages like once a week, and I usually don't have a problem doing them every morning, but I just haven't wanted to do it. And it comes down to that I am self-sabotaging, a hot topic, like a buzzword, right? What is self-sabotaging? Sabotaging myself, throwing myself into a pit of spikes because introspection is going to make me do stuff about it. But then it turns out that totally ignoring the introspective parts of my self-care routine, not so good for me. So I'm going to get back on that horse. And today I was just feeling really good. So I'm going to give you a little recap of my week, which is that on Tuesday, I just started like crying in the middle of the day. I couldn't even tell you what made me start crying, but I just felt terrible, and I felt like hopeless, and I felt so untethered from my purpose and myself and like my values, and I just didn't know what was going on. And part of this was a lot of judgment over having a low revenue month in April. And I was like, oh, you're bad at business, right? After 4 years of freelancing and having a coaching business, I'm like, no, that was all a fluke. The fact that you have survived this long is just a mistake of luck or something. And gosh, no, I have made all this. Like I I have made a life where I make money helping people with their passion, like writing a book or making more art or having a business that meets their needs and where they are allowed to be queer and autistic. And like, I needed to get back to that. I needed to get back to the point where I'm like, no, I do what I do because I choose it and because I love it and because it's important to me and it matters in the world. And I had lost that because I fell into this spiral of self-judgment and of like trying to control stuff. And I promise I'm going to get to my actual topic today soon, but I was really in this sort of like clenchy energy where I was like, no, I want this many clients to join this program a month, and only then will I have a successful like business revenue model. And I was getting all into all the marketing words because I have a professional background in marketing. And so I know about content calendars and planning and sales funnels and stuff. But the more I tried to do business, heavy air quotes on business, you know, the traditional model of like straight white male business, the more I felt like something was missing. And it turns out that what was missing was like me, because I am white, but I am not a straight man. Definitely not. I'm like the anti of both of those. So I sent kind of an unhinged email to 650 people on my email list where I was like, I'm really fucking sad, you guys. I'm really stressed out. I'm having a really bad time. And I'm going to like take a break from like trying to market stuff. And I'm just going to try and get back to connecting with you. And one place where that really hasn't been a problem is the podcast, because I really enjoy the podcast. And it always feels like I'm talking to a friend. Like we're just sitting down and I'm like, I'm going to info dump at you about this topic. And that's a lot of fun. And it means that people find me who enjoy that style of communication, which is ideal for me, because if you don't like this style of communication, you should not subscribe. You should not join my email list. You should not follow me, because I'm a little bit of like a chaos gremlin covered in paint. Like I'm a mess, but I am my mess. So as long as I am my mess, I'm pretty good. Anyway, all this to say that for the past couple of days, I've been feeling a lot better. And it's probably not a coincidence that the more I was journaling about it and the more I was allowing myself to talk to my friends about it, that burden lifted, because I looked at it. There's a saying that's like shame dies in the light or something. Man, I'm going to try and look up that quote, because that feels adjacent to it, but maybe not the correct thing, which is basically that once you share your burden, once you shine a light on whatever is causing you to feel shame, it will dissipate. And I know this, like, this is so frustrating because I know all this stuff. I am a life coach. I have been certified in like coaching the unconscious mind. I know somatic techniques and like hypnotic trance techniques. And I totally know how to like walk somebody through their emotions and their feelings in their body. And I wasn't doing it for myself. And it's not that I forgot that I knew how to do it. It's that I don't think I was ready to like get in there and start rooting around yet. Which kind of brings me to today's topic, which is starting over and giving yourself grace and not holding yourself to like picture perfect timeline or the perfect ideal method of doing something. Like, life is not a linear checklist of things. And this topic is brought to you by my friend Nell, whose graduation party I am going to tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 10th. Her party is tomorrow, the 11th, and she is celebrating graduating with her bachelor's degree. She's 40, I want to say. I think she just turned 40. If she's not 40, Nell, sorry. But also not sorry, because the only reason that we get all weird about our age is patriarchal beauty standards. So she's 40-ish, okay? And I have a Facebook post from her that's up that I'm going to read you the highlights of. So she has gone back to school 4 times over the course of 22 years. Now, if we do 18 plus 22, that's 40. In 3 states with 4 majors. And then she said, I'm not going to downplay this accomplishment. This was fucking hard. And I did it through caffeine, the love and support of some, and the spite of many. We love it. And also I put out just sort of like a Facebook post a few weeks back where I was like, hey, I have a couple more episodes I need to record for May. Does anybody have like a topic that they want me to talk about? And Nell commented and said, starting over in midlife, and the fact that it's never too late to do something new, different, pick something back up, etc. She says, I need to hear stories about 30 to 40-year-olds who didn't have it figured out yet, and it's still being okay. So that's what we're talking about today. And I will preface this by saying I am 36. I am firmly in the mid-30s. I have started over a lot. I remember I had a therapist ask me once, like, are you afraid of losing it all and having to start over? And I said, no, because I've done it. So my starting over stories are like, I got a master's degree and then never worked in that field. I never worked in that field. So I think I talked about this in the last episode, but my master's is in higher education administration and student personnel, which is a mouthful. But that means that I can work in like a student support role at a university or college. And I applied to a lot of jobs in that field, got some interviews, didn't get any offers. Also, Ohio has so many colleges and universities, like a really weird amount, disproportionate to the size of Ohio, but that's fine. That was just a fun fact because when you're applying for jobs at colleges and you would like to stay in state, you see a lot of things. Okay, but that's not what this is about. This is about starting over in your 30s, in your 40s, even later. And so I graduated, didn't get a job. At the time, like right when I was graduating, I was also getting my first divorce. So I got married when I was 23. And then, oh yeah, we did just talk about this because it was about forever is not like the only goal. Forever is not how we measure success. So I pivoted, right? I went and did something else. I learned some other skills. I got another job. And then I freelanced until I had enough of a marketing resume to move over into marketing. And then I quit my job spectacularly in 2020 and was like, I'm just going to figure it out. So then I started freelancing and coaching full time, and here I am. And I am at a point, I don't think I said this in the forever one, that I have been looking for part-time jobs recently because the taxes have changed so much that like my tax burden is kind of exorbitant. And I'm like, okay, this is stressing me out now. Like I am worried about bringing in enough revenue to pay all my bills and make sure that I'm setting aside enough for taxes and like all of this. And I'm like, you know what would be nice is a W-2, I think. I think maybe just like a nice little W-2 job where I can go for like 10 or 20 hours a week and sit at a desk and answer a phone. That sounds gorgeous to me. We could do that. So I don't know if that's starting over or if that's just getting creative, but that's where I'm at right now. And I have also started over, I would say I really, really started over in 2018, which is when I left my husband. That's the one I left after I went on meds. Go me. And at the same time, I was having my last contact with both of my parents. So I had gone no contact with my mom in 2017, but then we ended up in contact in February and March 2018 because my stepdad died. That's a whole story. And it's not a fun one. So I saw her, and then my dad came to visit me as I was leaving my husband and getting settled in a new apartment. And he like took me out for lunch and we talked and stuff. And then he said, you're going to need to explain to me what you mean by abusive, because I just can't reconcile that with the man that I know. And I was like, I should not have to explain and relive all of that stuff. Like, it was just so strange that he couldn't understand that like he had met my husband maybe a dozen times and we were all together. He only interacted with my husband by himself one time where like they met up somewhere and like, I don't know what they did, but they met up for dinner somewhere and doesn't matter. Who cares? That was like a slap in the face where he's like, what do you mean abusive? Because like, he didn't seem abusive to me. Well, abusers don't seem abusive in front of other people. That's kind of the point. Fun fact. So I really pulled back from talking to my dad at that point. And then we were still like communicating a bit here and there, like texting and Facebook and stuff. And then he just sort of went on like kind of a weird rant on one of my Facebook posts, saying that like I must be the abuser and that I've like put everyone under my spell. And I don't know, I'm a crazy weird bitch and I don't care about my family. Basically, he's one of those blood is thicker than water kind of boomers. And I get that. But I decided at that point that I was going to block him and I was also going to go no contact with him. So all of this is happening in roughly like the 2018 to 2019 emotional year. So that's rough. And I would definitely consider it starting over to end a marriage and cease contact with two people who like were supposed to always be there and like always be a resource and always be like a safe haven for me. So I really didn't have a safe haven anymore aside from myself and my sister and a few friends. That's starting over, I would definitely say. And like for my friend Nell, she's finally graduating with her bachelor's degree, which means like she can advance in her career in however she wants. She's got a good job, but you know, maybe now she can negotiate for a higher salary, or maybe now she can get a different job with better benefits somewhere. I'm pretty sure she's happy at her job and she doesn't want any of that, but this is still like a huge deal. It's a very momentous occasion, right? Like graduating is something that people expect you to do in your early 20s. I graduated at 21. Generally, people are graduating with a bachelor's degree at 22 years old. 22 years old is so young, you guys. I swear, if you're 22 and you're watching me, like, sorry, but you're so young. And I say this as a person who was getting married at 21 and was like, I'm an adult now and I know everything I'll ever need to know. God, that you're going to learn so much more. And let me just tell you that your 30s are going to be awesome. My life has gotten so much better since I turned 30. And, you know, part of that was cutting off people who had a vested interest in me being small and controllable. So I stopped talking to those people. And then I have been on a journey of like finding myself and identifying who I even am and what my values are and what I like and dislike. My sister came to visit me after I left my husband and was like, I am proud of you for making a friend. I didn't know that you were nice. I thought you were kind of a bitch. And now we're best friends. Like, my own sister didn't even know who I was because we had only ever known each other in the context of our relationship as siblings and our relationships with our parents. So we started over. We really did. Like, we started from scratch and we had to decide, is this person, like, yeah, we're siblings, but does that mean that we want to be in each other's lives? And anytime that you have this sort of like significant starting over sort of occasion, you can get really clear on like, who do I want to come along and know this new version of me? I joke a lot that my pronouns are they, them, because I am a plurality, like because I contain every version of me that has lived so far and who will live in the future, right? That would make a Republican not understand what was going on and they would call a priest. I don't even know. Like, you change so many times in one human lifetime. And how can we measure it against like an average like that? How can we say, well, if you're not graduated and like started in a career by your mid-20s, then you've like missed the boat? Oh my God, there's so many more boats. There's so many more boats, or whatever it is. Maybe you don't like boats, but I'm saying there is not just one opportunity to try and then stick the landing. You can do new things or old things or whatever thing you want, basically whenever you want to. And believing that that is available to you is the first step. So there could have come a point where Nell was like, I don't want to do this anymore. The moment has passed. I'm not going to finish my degree. And that's fine. And that could have been fine. But she wanted to finish it. So she did. And that is also fine and delightful. Another friend of mine had a degree, had a career, then decided that she wanted to become an electrician. And so now she's an electrician and she's having the time of her life. She's like, this is amazing. She loves it. Like, she has all the guys from the crew come over for beers and stuff. And it's amazing. And she's really thriving. But there are so many reasons why she could have been talked out of that. It could have been like, well, you already have a career that you like. You're a woman. That's not really a woman's industry. And so many societal expectations are what stop us from deciding that we can do something different, deciding that we can go off the script that has been handed to us. You don't have to hate your body. You don't have to go to school and get a degree. You don't have to get married and have kids. I'm sterilized. I had my tubes out because I decided, started over, made a fresh call. I used to really want a baby. I tried to get pregnant for 18 months in that marriage and we never got pregnant. And now I'm like, thank God. But at the time I was desperate for it. The trash can every single month was full of pregnancy tests because I would start testing like as early as I possibly could. And I was tracking my ovulation and my cycle and all this stuff. And every single month when I got my period, I was devastated. And to go from knowing without a doubt to my very deepest core that I wanted to have my own child, to knowing that I did not, like, holy shit, even what you really deeply want is allowed to change over time because you are allowed to change over time. And that's being human. That's being human. When we just follow our programming and then die, that is being kind of a robot. No, we're organic, messy, creative, community-based storytelling entities. Like, we are spiritual. We are creative. You're allowed. You are allowed. What would you do? What in another life? In another life where you were allowed to be as wild and free as you wanted, what would you have done? In another life where you were confident and bold and everyone, every adult and role model and caretaker in your life told you that you really truly can do anything that you put your mind to, what would you have put your mind to? What is your wild? What is your alternate life? What is your alternate universe version of you that if you met them, you would be like, I didn't know I was able to have done that. And it would break your heart to know that it was just one decision away. Do that thing. Even just a little bit, just a little baby bit of it. If you want to do stand-up comedy, go to an open mic night. If you want to write for National Geographic, send them an article and ask them if they'll publish it. You can do anything. You can become a photographer. You can become an artist. You can become anything that you want. I'm going to leave you with this. We bought our house in 2021, and that summer, one of my housemates' moms, one housemate, her mom, gave us some irises that she dug up. Like, her irises had reproduced and she was thinning them out, and so she brought them to us. And so we planted some irises. And obviously they didn't bloom that year because they don't typically bloom like right after you transplant them. And they didn't bloom in 2022, and they didn't bloom in 2023. And I was just like, well, whatever, they're pretty, they're green. It's greenery. There's a plant out there. But this year, I noticed a stem starting to come up. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to bloom. It's going to bloom this year. And then I looked at the other one, and there's a little stem coming out of that one too. And I'm like, that one's going to bloom too. So this year, both of these irises that have just been green leaves, they've just been there in the dirt for like 2.5 years, they're going to bloom. They're going to blossom. Can I be that patient with myself? Can I let myself have a period where I was growing roots and I was getting acclimated to my environment and I was getting used to a change? And it took me 2.5 years to figure out what the fuck I was doing and to bloom and blossom. If I can be that patient with the plants, can I be that patient? Can I be that patient? Can I be that patient with myself? And that is what I shall leave you with today. You can start over at any time. You can replant yourself. You can do it. Okay. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it.